census, there's one on mining in Colorado. So there's things related to the Great Depression, life as a migrant. So kind of cool, like, where they've already kind of done the...
You heard Marjorie talking about tables? We have done this for you as well. There are a number of pre-selected and annotated primary resource sets for just about all the topics that's been through Marjorie's outline, and we'll show you how to get to those. We're also interested in having you guys create some more of those. If you find that you want to create a set for your own sort of purposes, that there isn't one available already, but we have some of those for you.
When are you going to do that, Tim?
When we share those?
Tables, yeah,
Well, sometime in the morning, we need to show, maybe tomorrow morning, yeah. Would be a good time to show them how to get there. They're available in the Google Docs thing, but it gets a little...
Did you mention the chapters too? Do they have access to the chapters?
They will have access to the chapters to the book, so you can read Marjorie's book online. What else you got to share? Who's got goodies?
I found the Shivington deposition from...
I'm sorry, what is that?
It's on the Colorado History Museum.
But it's
the Shivington.
Shiving, okay, I heard something different.
Deposition of the Sand Creek Massacre.
It's pretty appropriate.
It's appropriate, from 1865. I usually use those Sol Kramer letters, but this is nice for kind of compare and contrast kind of two accounts of the same incident.
I went on the Library of Congress and I wanted to see if there's any information on Hmong people. And so it gave me a link to Asian Nation, and there's articles, there's books about the Hmong experience, plus other Asian cultures.
So one of the, the single most powerful teaching technique known to human beings is compare and contrast. So taking that experience and asking kids to say, what the hell is your experience similar or different, would be extraordinarily powerful.
And I was doing that as throughout the whole, workshop. You know, the experiences I went through and comparing and contrasting them.
Well, we're going to have to ask you to share if you don't mind.
A lot of what everyone here is put up on the board is similar to what I see as well. And I will say that in looking through the Library of Congress previously, I did find something on Angel Island. And so it was fantastic to provide that contrast from Angel to Ellis Island, and that was just simply by getting through Library of Congress and kicked me to that link, and that was fascinating too. The first-hand accounts, they had the art, but they had short videos. These Chinese immigrants, these women saying that we were being discriminated against because we were not able to be identified as male or female, and when we said we were female, we had to prove it by disrobing. And so the kids then get into this lesson in Chinese culture and the modesty that revolves around, their bodies and the presentation of their bodies, and yet here they are having to disrobe for these strange American officials to prove that they are female. It just blows kids away. So it's some powerful primary documents, and it's something else I use. A different topic is I have two great uncles that fought in World War II. They were on Okinawa when the two bombs were dropped, and shortly after they were both offshore Japan, and one of them took a picture of the signing of the surrender. So I've got a picture of that at home, and just days before he passed away, he and his daughter were going through these pictures, and as the story was told, that his daughter asked him, well, what's this, Dad? And barely able to speak at that point, he's failing health. He says, oh, that was just the signing of the Japanese surrender. So he kind of throws the picture out. And, so I just happened to overhear that story just shortly after his funeral. I said, I gotta have that. So I bring that in as part of that personal piece, and we read Flags of Our Fathers. And
primary source.
Yeah, and Ira Hayes, a Pima Indian who didn't have to fight fights. My two great uncles who had to fight in a segregated army, they weren't allowed to carry a gun because they were Mexican. They had to be cooks. And yet here he was, as proud as could be to serve his country. I know he was proud of that, proud of that he was. So, but just that personal story, Rachel Hoffman did a wonderful job with that history, bringing that personal, but I think just interlacing these primary docs with that personal, will that just hook, line, and sinker for kids, that's good stuff.
Okay, we got time for like one more, and then we got some really rich conversations to have. One more cool thing. Does everybody know the Marian Anderson? Does everybody know the Marian Anderson story? All right, all right.
Let me do that one.
All right, so this will help. Okay. Marian Anderson was a soprano, right? Was an opera singer, a spectacular opera singer in the 20s and 30s. She got asked to perform in Washington, D.C. at the Daughters of the American Revolution Hall, but because she was African American, they denied her the opportunity to perform there. Eleanor Roosevelt heard this, you know, this is a good story, and said, oh, okay, fine. Let's have her sing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And so they arranged for her to go out and sing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. You know what she chooses to sing first? My Country, 'Tis of Thee. You know, is that like powerful or what? Right? You know, here's someone who's been treated this way by the Daughters of the American Revolution, and for her first song, she chooses to sing about the wonders of the country in which she lives. Play that story for you. And you can find the story online at lots of different places, but there's a good NPR story about it as well. But you can play it for your kids sometime.
There's a quick connection to that. There was a little kid with a lot of talent in a little mariachi suit at one of the baseball games recently. Was it last year? And he sang Sports Fan Urbana, is that the one? Sports person.
Yeah.
And then they were criticizing him because he was in his mariachi outfit.
Like, for goodness sake.
What's he supposed to be wearing the American flag? Like,
Carlos played it at
well, that happened
the Game
with
4.
Miss USA. Was it last year? She was from New York. But she was Indian, like from the country and that background. And he was saying that too, that she was an American.
wow.
You're on.
All right, so we're gonna do a follow-up discussion now that you guys have kind of, we're good? Yeah. So now that you guys have familiarized yourself with each of these different sites, we're gonna talk about bias, because we are, I think it was Mike talked about seeing things from different points of view and having primary sources. So I have a couple of discussion questions. I'm gonna have you guys read these really quickly and kind of reflect on what you think. So, what do you think equal representation means? These are just two ideas. Does equal representation change with different topics? Does equal representation change with classroom demographics? All white, all Latino, or all any other backgrounds? How should we choose teachers? What?
As teachers. Sorry.
What?
How should we choose as teachers?
How should we choose as teachers?
How should we choose teachers? A whole really good question.
That's
Exactly the same question. Exactly the same.
Oh, I don't know what just
What a
happened.
nice looking family. Oh, one second.
So that's supposed to be as. If that's true, I don't know.
That's a good Freudian thing there.
Yeah, but it's bad examples of like, oh, goodness.
So, I think I copied these down from your email, actually. How do we have conversations with our colleagues about these topics? So, these are these are constantly coming up. We've had this come up several times in like just past one day. So I want you guys to reflect, think about what primary sources have, that you saw on which sites, which areas you were looking at. I know you guys only just had a brief touch into it, but.
So the fundamental question is this. We all make these kinds of content choices as teachers. And if we choose to include Boulder County Latino history stuff in our curriculum, there's other things that aren't going to be there. Right? And so we're choosing on purpose. And so the question kind of comes, you know, how do we choose, and why, and what's an appropriate amount, and what's an inappropriate amount, and who gets to pick, and what's it mean to be a bad
How do we
example
make
of a
these
teacher?
hard decisions? What do you think? anyone want to start, or do we want more time to reflect? Because you guys are all looking at me, so I'm not quite sure. Or this front row.
I'm questioning what I need to,
I'm
what I need to respond to here.
What do you think of represent?
Please, go ahead.
So how about we start with question one?
Okay.
Let's start from the base one. So what do you think equal representation means?
In terms of what?
Curriculum, is that
Mhm.
curriculum?
Yeah, curriculum content.
Okay. So meaning if I teach evolution, I better be teaching a balance of,
So I'll ask you straight out. So what percentage of the content of your curriculum ought to reference Latinos in one way or another?
So I can,
equally with all others.
Right. And we're just asking it in that blunt kind of way,
Yeah, okay.
so we begin to think about it, you know.
Okay.
I can start. The way I start my classes is this article that I found, I actually wrote about for a graduate. It's by Clark, and basically it's a study of U.S. history textbooks and through the 50s, and as late as 1990s they inventoried the indexes of U.S. history textbooks, and they found for every 18 men that are referenced, one woman is referenced. So I make that like a very poignant thing to start my classes with, and then I ask, you know, who else's histories are not being seen? If there's one woman, how many Latinas are being seen in U.S. history textbooks? How many women of color? How many men of color? And then we question that, and then from there we start talking about, okay, well, whose history does need to be represented, and is that okay if we do that at the expense of these white males that are in our U.S. history textbooks?
Dead white males, dead white European males.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Mhm.
I love that article. Do you have that on your website?
I have it right here. I can send it to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Somebody want to throw out some numbers just to kind of play around?
Throw out numbers.
Like a percentage number, like the 18 to 1 number there.
I mean, I think that's, I think numbers wouldn't be appropriate, like, it's not about numbers. Like, if you're trying to hit some quota, you're not, that's not the intent. The intent is really to take a look at what your content is and who your students are, and figure out what's gonna engage them, what's gonna communicate these big ideas, and what's gonna be inclusive of not just all the background, not just their backgrounds, but also, you know, if you're teaching a not very diverse population, how are you gonna make them aware that other people exist? And so there's no number, that's a dance, that's a negotiation.
At some point in time, a number emerges, like they do, they just went and looked at the index, right? And so, and I understand this, but I think it also helps us become conscious of making the choice on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and so I totally agree with you that we don't want to establish a firm number, but it does make us at least think really hard about making these kinds of choices. Because every time we choose to put something in, something else drops off at the end of the day, right? Because, I mean, we're getting ready to make a really hard choice here in about 7 minutes.
Well, and you have Arizona that outlaws like Cesar Chavez, teaching about Cesar Chavez and all that, and that's
It's just unbelievable to me.
yeah. I mean, they take away they close it, they drop all the ethnic studies programs, like Dr.
Right.
Falcone at UNC in Greeley, not too far away. She had called the feds in to mediate last month in Greeley at UNC. They were getting rid of the Mexican American Studies course. And she just signed a 3-year contract that they had to let that continue. And that's 30 miles from here.
Well, so I want to bring up, does it change with different topics? Because for me, that seems completely straightforward as, why would you outlaw Cesar Chavez? Like, no. But wait, if we look at World War II, it gets a little shady. Do we add in points from different primary sources that might come from Nazi literature? Or do we come from different points of view from Japanese internment camps? And on top of that, what about the Japanese when they would capture soldiers? That's what we're trying to show is we have this we have to make these hard decisions, and what does that mean to just, like you, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Catherine, I'm so sorry. Catherine was talking about there's this negotiation of change. And there's always this, does it change with World War II? Or should we keep it the same as we teach about Cesar Chavez and we teach the American government kind of media mainstream?
Well, I think that, I think that,
These are discussions.
Kent, I think you actually said, I think this came out of your mouth. Most of the stuff that comes out. But the idea, you know, like for history, there's certain things, you know, there's still things that are okay to debate still, right? Like you can still have the open discussion on whether or not, I don't know, like should we have dropped the bomb on Japan, right? And when I was a kid, you know, there was still debate on if Japanese internment camps were okay, and then finally it got to the point, thank God, that it's like, no, it's not okay, ever. Like, that's not debatable anymore. And so I think there are topics that, just from over time, that we can open up for debate. But for me, like, I talk to my kids, you know, you had mentioned the safe environment and that warm, loving environment of how great it is that why I love being an American is that I can criticize America. Like, that's the ultimate patriotism, right? That we can have these discussions and talk about how can we change things and what can we do. And so I think that allows for conversation. What?
You said
Really? They're already in their last
Thank
session.
you.
Like,
They're in it. I love that you just pointed it out.
Learning stuff.
I love that. Okay.
So there is
I love when I get caught on that because I'm not even aware of it. Keep doing that.
Okay.
There was a contest to name a new slogan for the United States in 6 words. The winner was, "Our worst critics prefer to stay." Even our worst critics prefer to stay. Second place was, "Just like Canada with better bacon."
Oh my gosh.
Are
you done? You done? So nice.
Well, no, what I was gonna say is the thing for validating Nazi propaganda is never okay.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry,
know,
I didn't mean
and so,
validate.
but there are times, historically, I think there are things that you can look at both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
too.
Well, like, what about if, you know, last time we talked about El Norte, the last group, right?
Yep, El Norte.
Which is, create a lot of empathy for immigrants from Latin America.
Yeah.
What do you think about showing something that's very critical of immigrants, anti-immigrant, and comparing it with that? I don't know, I'm scared to bring it up, because I don't want to validate, I don't want to make a space to validate that. On the other hand, I feel like I'm